Would you like to have more control over your life? And would you like to enjoy a greater sense of personal freedom? If so, I will share with you how to do that in this video. My name is Alex Poder, and I am the founder of Alex Poder Coaching and Consulting. Throughout the years of working with clients as a coach, I've discovered that one of the main reasons why we tend to stay stuck is because of the limiting beliefs, the limiting stories we keep holding on about ourselves. And often those limiting beliefs, those limiting stories about who we are and what's truly possible for us stem from our conditioning that we have adopted and embodied since our childhood. As you know, there are a lot of factors that are part of our conditioning. They include societal conditioning, the community we grew up in, religious beliefs, cultural aspects, our family, our parents, caregivers, educational system. And as a result, we tend to embody these beliefs and we keep living into those beliefs. And here's how this works and why it tends to be so challenging to free ourselves from the control of these limiting beliefs and the limiting stories that we have about ourselves. When we form a belief, the belief drives our actions, our decisions. The belief that we embody shapes our reality. This means that we act as if the belief is true, because that's essentially what happens. So if we have an idea about what we can and can't do, we act those beliefs out. And as a result, and this is really, really important, we keep collecting evidence that the belief that we have adopted about ourselves is true. So if I were to tell you, upon having a conversation with you about any limiting beliefs that you might be able to identify about ourselves, you would probably tell me that, well, it's true. It could be belief around not being good with money, not being athletic, not being good at math, not being organized, you name it. And you would probably be able to point to a lot of evidence that would show that it's true. That's who you are. And what I want to offer you is to open yourself up to the possibility that you can free yourself from the beliefs and the stories that you might have about yourself that you no longer want to hold on to. Specifically, beliefs that just don't feel good, that you would like to not keep holding on to anymore. And I'd invite you to open yourself up to replacing those old limiting beliefs that just don't feel good to you with different ones. And I'm going to just share a personal experience with this. One of my biggest limiting beliefs about me is that I have to be perfect. So I consider myself a recovering perfectionist, though I sometimes I'm not recovering, I'm still embodying the perfectionist behavior. And so the belief stems from experiences I've had in my childhood where I felt that I had to be a certain way in order to be accepted, in order to be loved. And as a result, I have had embodied a belief that I need to be perfect. And not only have I had the belief that I needed to be perfect in order to be loved and accepted, but I've also carried the belief of being perfect because there was a belief that if I, as a coach, help others to realize their highest potential, I had to lead by example and be perfect and show others what it looks like to have reached my highest potential, which in my mind meant I had to be perfect. I could not screw things up or make mistakes. And that's very limiting. It's it's not really sustainable, and it's not realistic to be perfect because we're humans and we make mistakes. We can't be perfect, and I had to go through the process of doing some really deep transformative work and healing work and work to integrate that pattern that had me show up from a place of needing to be perfect. And the way it came out was that I was afraid of showing vulnerability, that I was afraid of sharing content or something that I believed others could help because it had to be perfect. And there was no way that I could share something that my mind or my conditioned behavior didn't think was ready to be released to the world so others could see it. And that kept me very limited, very restricted, and also prevented me from implementing, from putting stuff out there. And so I had to learn to be imperfect, to be not only to be vulnerable, but to also make mistakes, and to learn that by being more open and vulnerable, that I might actually be more able to connect with people and have people relate to me because it's human to be imperfect, to make mistakes. And I'm still working on this. And so I want to invite you to do some deep exploration around limiting stories and limiting beliefs that you still might be holding on to about who you are and what's truly possible for you. I'd actually invite you to do some journaling about this, to give those beliefs, those awarenesses some space, so that they can come to the surface. And that might maybe feel a little bit uncomfortable as you do this, because not feeling good about ourselves just doesn't feel good. However, if you do this, I can also assure you that this will lead you to deeper healing, to becoming a more whole version of yourself. And I want to invite you to just create some space around your limiting beliefs about yourself, and to not necessarily to just feel that you have to do something, you have to change, you have to uproot those limiting beliefs, but to just have some awareness about those limiting beliefs and to give them some space. Because I found that once we have awareness of a limiting conditioned pattern, those patterns tend to start to unravel themselves. And I'd also invite you to spend some time starting to visualize what it can look and feel like to embody a new belief, a new story, a new idea, a new perspective of who you are that feels good, that feels more loving towards yourself. And to start leaning into embodying that new version of you. To give yourself, by giving yourself permission to practice showing up from believing something different about you that feels good, that feels more empowering to you. And to be gentle with yourself. It's a process. It's not something that happens overnight. But the more you do it, the more you give yourself permission to let go of old limiting beliefs about yourself and to start embodying new beliefs. You create openings, you create new possibilities, you create new opportunities. And the more you do this, the more you start to change and transform internally on a very deep level. And it's going to not only change you, but also your life, your reality. So if you relate to what I'm sharing with you, I want to invite you to like the video, to consider subscribing, and please share your experiences and let me know if you have any questions about anything I share with you. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.